The World Affairs Council of Northern California is committed to engaging the public in the exploration of international affairs. The Council Schools program gives students the unique opportunity to meet with heads of state, ambassadors, and the academic experts who visit the Council. The following video is taken from our year-long Student Ambassador Leadership Group. Students were asked to take on the role of a country or group to discuss the effects of climate change and propose solutions. What they found was an incredibly diverse set of needs, perspectives, and obstacles to tackling climate change. Their solutions only represent a fraction of the answer, but the following presentations by the young leaders demonstrate that they are thinking broadly and are actively engaged in addressing some of the world's most pressing issues.
Hi, my name is Nasat,
My name is Artin.
And I'm MJ.
and we are a city council that's representing a working class neighborhood that's been exposed to high levels of pollution, and asthma rates are extremely high in the community. So we'd just like to start off by saying that global warming has really come to the forefront in recent years. In terms of rising sea levels, there are lots of ideas about emissions trading. There was Kyoto. But the problem is that so far, the green movement is something for wealthy people. And it's excluding a very important group, which is poor people, working class people, people who make up a large part of the world. This is unfortunate for two reasons. The first is because pollution and industrialization directly affect the urban poor, which are basically economically disadvantaged ethnic minorities who live in cities that resemble and sometimes are slums. The second reason is that global warming to fight global warming, it requires a global effort. This does not just mean wealthy nations. This means everybody, NGOs, wealthy individuals, educational institutions, celebrities, key political figures, small businesses, large corporations. Everybody needs to work together. And in addition to that, we have to start including working class communities also to implement these new ideas, because global warming doesn't discriminate against religion or culture or nationality, so we have to present a united front. We represent one particular community, but what we have to say will resonate with economically disadvantaged people all over the world. One of the communities that we thought were most notable was East St. Louis, Illinois. It's right next to several industrial plants, including Monsanto Chemical, Pfizer Chemical, Aluminum Ore, and Big River Zinc. The city is almost completely African American. There's no garbage pickup, very few jobs, no obstetric services, and it has one of the highest childhood asthma death rates in the U.S. Garbage is burned in backyards, lead is all over the playgrounds, and raw sewage regularly floods the streets. So these companies, they're a leading contributor to global warming, but they're also infringing on the basic human rights of so many people who are living near their factories. These people are not only dealing with the effects of pollution, but also things like high unemployment, poor health care, failing school systems, high rates of crime. They are not going to care about helping the polar bears or saving, the polar ice caps. They have to save themselves. So our resolution is we would like to help solve both of these issues. We want to bring these people into the green movement so that the entire world can be involved, but we'd also like to use global warming as a way, the green movement as a way to pull people out of poverty. And Artin and MJ are going to expand on those. Just 1 second. We framed this with the UN Declaration of Human Rights. The first is that one of the articles that we really liked was that everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. And currently, these companies are infringing on the security of these communities, and our team is going to talk about that.
As a council member of an economically depressed town in a very wealthy country, I know for a fact these companies that are causing economic harm to our community are not going to do anything if we just tell them to do something more environmentally friendly. We need to introduce legal measures that will force these companies to actually do something about it. And there's a strong history of legal precedents to back up my position. First, there is the case of the Love Canal, the famous Love Canal of 1978. What happened in this community was that a school board of an economically depressed county in California wanted to purchase land for a new school. And they had a lack of funding, and so they were forced to buy a site from a company called Hooker Chemical, which was previously the toxic dump site of that company. And that company didn't want to sell it, but the school board needed it, and the company sold it to them for cheap and told them that they would have all the legal responsibilities that came with it. Later on, we see that people in this community end up with cleft lip, end up with myriad, genetic defects in their babies. Everything is going badly for them, and the community is in revolt. These people are very powerless. They don't have any money. They can't do anything. The corporation Hooker that's involved doesn't want to listen to them. And so what had to happen was the government had to step in and take over control of that area, disestablish that school, and demolish all the homes within the surrounding area. And that led to a legal act that I will get into in just a second. But first, there are two other cases that must be mentioned. The second is the Hinckley, California case, in which there was
Erin Brockovich, everybody.
Erin Brockovich.
That case.
So in that situation, people in that particular community, which is actually not an incorporated town, were having their area invaded by huge corporations that would establish themselves and then establish townships around their companies so as to not be hurt by the local government. And so Erin Brockovich was able to investigate this and found that there were 0.58 parts per million of a toxic thing called hexylene chromium, whereas the EPA standard at the time was 0.1 parts per million. And this became the most expensive direct action lawsuit in the entire country. PG&E had to pay $331 million to fix this problem that they had created. And last but not least, one of the most important cases has been the infamous Exxon Valdez oil spill. In this case, an Exxon Valdez tanker in the Arctic near Alaska ended up collapsing and causing extreme environmental damage that not only wiped out the area's fish life and marine community, but also resulted in huge detrimental costs to the economic communities living around the area. And in this case, which made it all the way to the highest court in Alaska, Exxon Valdez was forced to pay $5 billion, equal to 1 year's profit at that time, in damages. So therefore, there are strong legal precedents to making these corporations pay for what they are doing to communities in the United States. But most importantly, and to bring this back to the Love Canal case, what that prompted was something called CERCLA, the Comprehensive Environmental Response and Compensation and Liability Act, passed in 1980. What this said was that the U.S. federal government can come in and take over an area where a company has been causing environmental damages, get rid of whatever hazardous substances are causing the damage, and through a carbon tax, force the companies responsible to pay for it. Since 2003, the carbon tax has not been collected, and federal money for the CERCLA has been using taxpayers' money in order to pay for this. This needs to stop right away. The federal government needs to start punishing the companies that have done these problems and start collecting their money, because the only reason why corporations do something that's environmentally friendly is because they think it'll make them more money. They think it'll project a great public image. And what we need to do is say, stop. We're going to make you pay if you start harming our community.
And MJ will be talking about our second solution and the UN Declaration of Human Rights article that we chose for that one is that everyone has the right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of himself and his family, etc.